After 20 years of building together through dust, deadlines, and damn good ideas, Pace and Adam invite you to join them for honest conversations about the home building world. Welcome to Build Connected, where experience meets insight, powered by Diamond Home Restoration.
Hey everybody, welcome back to Build Connected. I'm Adam Diamond, and I'm sitting here with Pace, who, if you're listening to this, you can't see this, but he's wearing his Boston hat. I don't know how many of those I've seen, but this one is an orange brim with a forest green hat portion and a white bee and some sort of emblem on the side. What's that emblem on the side?
This is an all-star cap. There's a good strong 40 plus Boston hats in the closet.
You know, maybe that's enough of the Boston hats. We probably don't need to revisit this again. But I'm sure we'll see many of those as they come out of the closet. Anyhow, today we're going to talk about a few different things. We're going to stay within our criteria of talking about a product that we like. I want to talk about something in the industry of which Pace is going to cover, and that's going to be regarding a phrase that he said in the last episode. He's going to elaborate more on that specific phrase that he mentioned. And then we'll go and talk about one of the jobs that we have going on and something interesting that's happening there. So let's
that phrase that I'm going to talk about, I threw out the phrase last week. If homeowners have gone down this path and they're trapped, something to that effect. So I want to explain a little bit more what I meant by the word trapped. Sorry, you were going to jump in and start talking about Toughblocks.
Yeah, thanks for interrupting. We'll get back to that, soon enough. But let's start with talking about Toughblocks. This is a product that we've used quite a bit of. It's not a new product. It's been around for a while. I actually have one here. If you're watching this, you can see. But if you're listening, it's a very high density piece of plastic that basically replaces a concrete footing. Really, it's designed for a low-level deck. In our market, we require a permit for any decks that are over 30 inches. So if your deck is less than that, this is a great alternative to concrete. Why go ahead and dig a hole and pour concrete and do that if you can use these? They're actually designed to hold 1,700 pounds. I think they've been tested at 11,000 pounds, but 1,700 pounds each. They're right off the shelf, so you can just buy them and plop them down. You want to set them level, and you're good to go with these. Anything you want to add to these, Pace? That I'm
Yeah,
missing?
I mean, not only is it off the shelf, you're showing up on the job site, you're throwing those out like a deck of cards, right? And you're framing immediately. There's no pouring, there's no waiting for curing. Once those things are laid out, right, if you hold that up one more time, you're setting framing right in there. So you could, theoretically, if you've got a biggish deck, you could throw like a 4x in as like a beam that you're building on, or you can just put them on every joist. So just stand a 2x right up in it, and you're framing your deck. So you can just buy as many as you need, and it's super fast. I mean, we've put up decent sized decks in just a couple days, and it's if it is low to the ground, like you said, it's a great alternative.
Yeah, I've used these on my own house. I've got a couple of decks here that are short, kind of ground level decks, and I built these decks a few years ago, and yeah, nothing's moved. They're fantastic. So yeah, let's move on to our next phase where I think Pace, let's have you elaborate a little bit on that phrase that you mentioned.
Last week I used the phrase, if you go out for the blind bidding process, you're already in a trap. And I think that it's worth going in and explaining what I mean by trap. Oftentimes when we sit down with a new client, we hear them say things like, we didn't know who to call, where to start. So let's start talking about that first. I think that when you're undertaking a large project like this, you should first reach out to friends and family, your trusted network of people, and see if you know someone that has had a good experience with a remodel or a building project, you're never going to trust anyone more than friends and family. That person, it could be your builder, it could be an architect or designer. Um,
Let's just pause for a quick second and talk about the designer and the architect, because there is a differentiation between the two. I'm not going to get too far into that right now. We'll talk about that on a later episode, but you do have two different people that do similar things. You have a licensed architect, and you also have a designer that specializes in architectural design. So something we'll discuss later, but we'll clarify that when the time is right. Sorry, Pace, didn't mean to interrupt you there.
if you decide to go with reach out to a builder first uh, and select a builder that you're comfortable with, then your builder more than likely is going to recommend one, two, three architects for you to sit down, interview, and see if you're comfortable with the services that they offer. Similarly, if you're going to reach out to an architect first, um, they certainly have a network of builders that they have good experience with, and then you'd go through the same process with your builder. But the important part is to put those team members together before the design begins. Now, in either case, once you get over that hurdle, then you can start with the design, and you really want to start very conceptually, and you want to start getting real-time pricing to each option that's presented to you. So you can start building the scope of work to match your intended budget.
Pace, when you use the term conceptually, I think it's important to clarify that we really just need some basic schematics from that architect or that designer. That's really, for us in our pre-construction process, that's all we need to do our first round of kind of detailed pricing. And you don't have to go too deep in getting a full set of plans.
Yeah, what you're mentioning, this phase right here, it's all about analysis, right? With the two team members, you can have design, price. You can make informed decisions. If you bypass all of this and you get to a place where you have your full plan set, maybe even a permit, then this is what I refer to as the trap, right? You've spent all of this money, but you haven't confirmed that you can actually build it with a contractor of quality or a contractor that you trust, right? And therein lies the trap. So what often happens is people will go out to bid, they'll get the standard three bids. The two that they really like will be well above their price point. And there might be a guy who says, "Yeah, I can do it for that." Right? And they make the selection just based on the fact that he's the only one that says that he can do it. And right, that's where you're trapped. And that's where all of the horror stories with contractors begin.
Yeah, Pace, I got to tell you, what you're saying, I think, is really informative for people out there. There's so many people that we talk to that have no idea where to start in the process. And I think the moral of this story is don't get your plans and permits and then go out to bid. That's the old way of thinking, and it makes no sense at all. Build your team, do real-time pricing, go through that process. Slow is fast and fast is smooth. And I think that's what we really need to relay to people.
I think you're right. I mean, this is another one of those things. We're going to keep coming back to this really core issue of what, makes a successful project. All right, so I think let's move into something fun that's going on one of our projects right now, Adam. What is it you're looking to talk about?
We currently have a project going on that was a previous client of ours, and he has a roof deck that was built by another contractor long ago, and he's got some water intrusion in the roof membrane. So what we've done is we've tore off the decking. The decking was sitting on some battens, which is basically a 2x framing system that's sitting directly on that roof. So that had to be removed. We tore off the roof, re-roofing it, and instead of using those battens again, we're using the Bison system, Bison. This is not a new product. It's been around for quite some time. We've been using it, gosh, I think for almost 20 years. I think we've been using it 15, 20 years. But it's a pedestal system. It's a floating deck system that allows you to utilize either porcelain tiles that sit on top of these pedestals. You can also build a frame system on these and put on deck boards if you wanted. Bison also makes some 2 foot by 2 foot pre-made Ipe deck tiles is another way you can go. But what's nice about these is that if you have a leak ever in the future, you can remove just a single tile. You can remove the pedestal and access that leak and patch it. So if you can imagine these pedestals, Bison offers different sizes. Some are kind of fixed and they come in various thicknesses and heights. And then they have other pedestals that are adjustable. If you can remember those doctor chairs that would, you rotate them to raise them up, or you'd rotate them to lower them down. They have pedestals that spin like that to raise and lower. So really a unique system that is not new, that is superior to any sort of deck system that you're going to do on top of your roofing membrane. And we recommend it, and we're going to continue to use it.
Yeah, I think that we've been using it for a solid 20 years. You mentioned that they make a 2x2 Ipe tile. They've got a whole bunch of flavors. So they have different wood species in what they call tiles, meaning just squares. But they also have a full suite of like a porcelain tile that sits on a structural plate. And so you can really, pick your aesthetic and put something together really nice. I think that the key takeaway here is, if let's say you invest 50 grand in that deck, 20, 30 years down the road, if your roof needs to be replaced, you don't have to have that same cost for the deck again, right? You can pull it off, reset it, and just you don't have that expense twice. We've used it on really large open roof decks on multi-unit buildings. And we've used it like even in kind of stairwell landings where we had some sort of a central drain. It's really fit the bill on a number of projects.
Yeah, and there's also different manufacturers too. Bison is a product that we're familiar with and we've been using for a really long time, but there's other manufacturers that make something very similar. So see what's out there, see what fits the bill for you. And again, great product, highly recommend it for your roof deck.
That was good stuff again this week, Adam. Thanks everybody for checking us out on social media. We've been posting these little clips as a teaser, both on Instagram and on LinkedIn. If you can find your way to YouTube to Build Connected, you can watch us. And, as always, whether it's Spotify or Apple Podcasts, wherever you listen to your podcasts, check us out at Build Connected. I'm Pace.
I'm Adam.
See ya.
Bye-bye.
Thanks for joining us on Build Connected. For more stories, insights, and ideas, visit diamondhomerestoration.com or find us on Instagram and LinkedIn. We'll be back next week. We hope you will too.